Oh, hi there again. So we've been looking at mounting the neck on this guitar. So I noticed that the back of the neck is yeah, it's not really a Strat or a Telly back. I don't know why that is, because the other one I've got, wherever it is, or the other ones I've had, had much more of a curve around here. So I don't know whether sometime in the past I've kind of tried to fit this neck to something and filed that down, but it seems a bit weird because the end of the fretboard is still there, so I wouldn't have been able to easily cut that down, and it doesn't look as though I've been hacking away at it. It's far too neat for that. But anyway, so it's got kind of a bit of a weird end profile. So I've just basically been shaving this out round here. Now when I put the edge in round to do the resin pour, I think it was a bit tipped over there, sort of thing. So the wood, I routed the wood beforehand to a Strat neck pocket, so that's fine, but the resin isn't. It's sagged away a bit there. So I've just been doing these corners up to match this sharpness. So the neck does go in now like fine, which is absolutely no problem. But what I can do with this gap down here is that I mean, obviously I could fill it with this resin sort of thing and you would hardly notice it, probably, if at all. But mixing up a small amount of that resin is far too precarious, sort of thing, getting it up to go hard and stuff. But on the other guitar, I've forgotten where I did it now, but I actually used epoxy glue, like a 5-minute epoxy, no nonsense epoxy, and that dries pretty darn near as clear as this sort of thing. So I can easily just get some really thin tape, some of that like magic tape, put it round there, fit the neck in here, and then pour glue down in that slight gap there, which will do it fine. So I'm not worried about that. I've actually got the neck, the neck's not like quite there yet, but it's not far off. I've got a bit more fettling to do, although I'm not, like I say, I'm not bothered really. But on the back of it here, you can see we're about in the right place. I want to this semicircular transition here, like on the other guitars I made it like match the body line sort of thing, come round. Now the neck plate, I've decided to do the same as the same as the money guitar, and say make it a feature of these guitars with bolt-on necks, and that I put like a V-neck plate in it. Now I used brass here again, because aluminium is a lot softer, and I mean brass is really like hard metal to bend. Aluminium is a lot more bendy, so I didn't want to use that for a neck plate. And I thought I'd just stick with the V, because it's quite, it's a feature of them sort of thing, and I think it looks quite cool. And like I say, even though it's 3-bolt instead of 4, not forgetting on this we've got much longer cheeks than on a Fender Strat, which literally doesn't have anything on this side of the neck pocket. So we've got a lot more resilience to like the neck sort of going side to side. So what I'll do now is I've cut this out, drilled it, same as the last one. I mean, it's very easy again. So that can go on there. And what I want to do now is countersink this in. This is 5mm brass, so I'll do a countersink channel in there to countersink this in so it's flat. The screws go all in. They go flat as well in, so I've countersunk the holes. So they go in nice. So by the time the whole thing is in the body, just like the money guitar, you know, there'll be nothing sticking out to catch on your clothes and everything like that. So that's going quite well. So I can get on with doing routing the channel in the back in the back of the body to countersink this in. Of course, I have no idea where the other one I made, because I obviously did it for the same thing for the money guitar, but don't know whether I kept that. Oh bloody hell! Ta-da! I just saw it on the back of the bench there. Jesus Christ, that never happens usually. Right, but I've obviously made them. It's no good anyway. I've obviously made it a bit different because it doesn't fit. So well, yeah, never mind. Well, so I have to make another routing template for that, which is just not bother. Take me 10 minutes. So there we are. I'd just like to say, with making little bits like this, I did pontificate a little bit in the last video about doing, you know, things like, you know, little bits like this, and really it is what floats my boat, doing them. But one of the best machines, if you ever want to go into, like, you know, some DIY or stuff, you know, with a bit of specialist stuff, one of the best tools you can ever get is a decent bandsaw. They're worth every damn penny. I mean, all this, I mean, you have to cut that with a hacksaw by hand, you'd be there for a month of Sundays. I mean, it's not designed for metal, but the bandsaw is such a universal. Well, hello there, and welcome back to 3R Guitars and this Sci-fi resin top guitar build. Welcome to another shitty weather day in the garden of England. So, god damn, it hasn't stopped raining for as long as I can remember. Horrible. Right, okay, we're on this neck plate thing, and decided to go with let me get it all in view. Here we go. I've got everything ready, kind of thing, on my incredibly messy bench, which I'm sorry for. One thing, I used to be a draftsman years ago, which was my absolute favourite job. Loved it till they went all to computer aided design and all that shit. This is one of my legacy bits that I had from all my days drawing, and oh my god, you know what, get one, they're just so useful. Brilliant for drawing circles, yeah, much better than a compass. Right, okay, so we made this yesterday, nice thick V neck plate. V doesn't mean anything for this. On the money shop guitar, like, the V was for V for Vendetta kind of thing, bit of a tenuous link to money and as a parliament and things like that. But decided to carry on with you know, using it again on this, because to just have it as a feature of these guitars for ones with bolt-on necks. So 5mm brass, and what we want to do now is, you know, I mean, you know my views on bolt-on necks. I generally don't like them because I think it's a bit flat pack, but where I've got to do them, like on this, was a nice, you know, cheap, relatively cheap guitar. Let's do it a bit nicer than Fender do with a square plate just stuck on the bottom. So we're going to inlay this now in here, and to that end what I've done is I've cut this out, this template for routing, so this fits nicely in there. I mean, it looks quite a difficult job to do on the face of it, but it really doesn't take long. I mean, I've only spent like probably 20 minutes doing that, and I do it all on the trusty bandsaw. You know, you can run a blade down there, that won't affect the router cutter. And then if you cut it all out with a bandsaw, then you guarantee that these surfaces are perpendicular, or as near as damn it. And the router, you know, if you tried to cut that by hand, you know, you can imagine going through with a fret saw at all sorts of funny angles, or I would anyway. And you know, the square edge, make sure that when you run your bearing guided router or cut it, you actually cut that shape. So anyway, that fits nicely in there. And whenever you do something like this, I can just see actually, there's a little bump there that I want to file out. But when you actually do this, it's not important to get a, like, you know, perfect glove fit, but it is nice to, what looks nicer in a lot of respects is a nice even gap around it. So make sure that, you know, your template has a nice even little gap around it, and like that, you know, it gives room for finish if you're lacquering and stuff like that, but it just looks neat, you know. So do that. So let me just quickly file this straight. There's a little lump on here. Yeah, that's got that done. So right, okay, so what we're going to do now, let me go down here and you'll just have to hear me, unfortunately not look at me. So when I did this on the last guitar, I kind of you know, it's obviously going to be positioned perfectly for the neck, and I just measured it from back to front sort of thing. It's a bit awkward, and I thought, well, why don't I just drop this V in here where I want it and drill through the mounting holes, and then, yeah, you can see that, drill through the mounting holes, the screw holes, and then that will locate it on the back. Yeah, a lot better than fiddling about with measuring it. So what I've done now, so that's got to go in there. I want to locate that on there, so I'm actually using these screws. They're not the screws I'll use, but they're a very tight fit, so the thing won't move. They're bigger screws than I'll use, but now I can't actually move that anywhere in there. So now I can put the template over it, and I can position the template exactly where I want it, with that little gap around it. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, I mean, Jesus, it's on the back of the guitar. Now, one thing I'll be using my, right, this template thing, it's nice to make it quite big, because if you make it small, you think, oh, that's great. You've got to hold it to the guitar somehow to route it. And then if you're using clamps, you know, it gets in the way of the router. So if you make it a bit bigger, then now I can put 2 clamps around here, hopefully, or something like that, and I'll still have room to run the router. Now with the router, I'm using this little trend router, which has its limitations, but it'll do the kiddie. It's nice and light, nice and small, but this is the cutter I use. It's a tiny bearing guided trend cutter, which actually got a bearing on there. What's so nice about these tiny cutters, I mean, I use them a lot, but they'll go round, I mean, your smallest normal one is 1/2 inch, which is hopeless for doing around the tight corners of pickups and like this sort of curve around here. And these are tiny, they've got a tiny bearing on them. I mean, they are like 1/4 inch, and they're about the smallest bearing guided router cutter you can get. So that's what I'm using, and they're from Trend. They're quite expensive, but I've used that loads. So what I'll do now is I'll get this somehow stuck on here. It'd almost be nice to do the old super glue and tape thing, but I haven't got any of that accelerator at the moment, so I've got to try and clamp it, which I think is going to be difficult. But anyway, I'll get you back when I'm ready to route. Okay, you can see I've got things clamped down on here now. I mean, I've got some decent C clamps on here, G clamps, not the squishy ones. And this is held nice and tight, although I have to admit I don't really like it, because with the router vibrating so much, it's quite easy for, I mean, it seems tight in there, but sometimes things can go awry. I would prefer to have some kind of clamp here, or you know, some tape or something underneath it, but I haven't. But I think it will be all right. I'll take small cuts. So we've got the router now loaded up, so let's go ahead and cut about a millimetre depth. Always wait for the router cutter to stop before taking it out of the template. It's guaranteed you lift it up and catch the edge of the template. Now that looks absolutely perfect, but I've just cut a millimetre. See if you can see in there. I've just cut a millimetre depth to make sure everything is all right. Now we'll carry on going a bit deeper. The disadvantage with this router cutter is it hasn't got like a screw down device. You've just literally got to like pull it, you know, push it down. It has got a depth stop, but I mean, to be honest, it's pretty crude. So you've just got this little lever on the side you lift up and then you push down, but here you've got a depth stop you can adjust. So I've adjusted that depth stop to about 3 millimeters, something like that. So now I want this to be 5 millimeters deep, so, and this is the huge problem I've got at the moment, is both my digital calipers are buggered. Don't know why, but I suppose they only last. So if I measure down here now, this is to the top of the guitar, so I want to be 5 millimeters more than that. So for some reason that's measuring 138 and a half, so I want to be 5 more than that. 138 and a half, 139 and a half, 140 and a half, 141 and a half, 143 and a half. $143.7. So that looks to be, if I'm about right there, that looks to be bloody perfect. I don't really want to take it off. I mean, even if I zero this, it won't zero for some reason. Oh, it has zeroed now. Maybe it's got better. 11 mil. 16.4. Yeah, seems perfect. Let's whip it off and have a look. So there's our routing there, looking very smart. So let's see if this fits now. Moment of truth. Look at that. That's nice, isn't it? Like that. There's a bit more of a gap there, but honestly, just the gaps are so neat. No, I like that. That's as good as I can get, like on a quickie job kind of thing, and it's the absolute perfect depth. There's just, I can just feel an edge when I run my thumb over it. So well pleased with that. All the holes line up. Lovely, beautiful. Well, hi there, just a quick additional job. When we were looking at this neck that I'm using, this back of the heel is a different profile from either a Telecaster or a strap, and I basically used a strap template to cut this neck pocket here. Don't know why it's different. I don't know whether I've done something to it in the past or whatever, but never mind. So what I've done, instead of trying to chisel the back of the neck pocket to this profile, I mean, I'm totally devoid of the ability of sharpening chisels, and yeah, I'm not great at that sort of thing anyway, sort of hand carpentry. So what I quickly did, exactly the same as with that V thing, I just drew round this neck on a piece of plywood, cut it out on the bandsaw with the proper heel shape there, and then with the old same sort of cutter but a longer one with bearing guided thingy there, just pushed it down to the bottom of the neck pocket, whizzed around and took about 2mm off kind of thing to the new profile now, so this neck will actually fit in there perfectly. I mean, when you cut this neck template, you know, you can try it on the neck, make sure it fits properly and everything. So it seems a bit of a lot of work just to cut that when you could trim it with a chisel, but believe me, when you've got sort of devoid of skills of me with a hand chisel, god damn, I keep saying it, but you know, if I won the lottery, I'd get a delivery of new chisels every bloody week, because I can't sharpen the bastards. But anyway, job done. The neck should fit now perfectly. Let's have a look. So we've got the new profile for the back of the neck there, all cut in, so this neck should now fit. Let's have a look. You can't see very well, but you may be able to just behind the overhang of the fretboard, so it fits perfectly at the back. Hi there, just had me coffee, so refreshed. There's actually a bit of sun outside, holy cow. Liquid sunshine, most of it though. But yeah, so I've put the neck in the neck pocket now. I've cleaned it up a little bit with a chisel, just scraped it out basically, but the neck actually fits in there with about only like a couple of mil of, you know, if that, of wobble at the headstock end of the neck. So it's a nice neck joint there. And with these like offset guitars, it's actually quite difficult to find out where the center line is. I mean, if on the body, if you've got a Strat, you know, or a Telecaster, you know, if you go down the center of the neck and put a mark roughly where the bridge is, it's going to be the same that way as that way. Well, with like an offset guitar shape, they're not. So it's kind of almost like a visual thing of where you'd like the center of the neck to be, or the center of the body to be, kind of thing. I mean, so what I've done, the way I do the center line of the neck is I don't rely on just running a straight edge down the center of the dots. The dots might not be in the middle, so what I do is I put a straight edge down one end of the neck, mark it up here on a bit of tape, and then on the other side of the neck, up where the fretboard is, and mark it here, and then I'll check with the dots to see whether they're down the middle, and they're not on this neck, they're not quite down the middle. When I measure this side, it's shorter than that side by probably about 3 mm. I mean, it's not a lot, but I mean, I can actually see on these dots that that doesn't look in the middle to me. Yeah, I mean, you can see it's miles out, that dot there. So, you know, don't rely on the dots as the centre line. So we've got this marked as the centre line projected up the neck. Now, on the template, when I actually designed this body, I put like a, sorry about the template getting messed up, but I've put a centre line down it. I mean, you have to put an arbitrary centre line in because everything works from that kind of thing. So that's where I want the centre line. So I've plonked this on top of the body, and I've marked the centre line at the where the centre line is going to be at the end. So what I want to do now is basically let's put a line in the. I haven't got a straight edge long enough to, I don't think, to bring this. Oh, I can do. So I can project this edge, top edge of the fretboard, to the back here, and I can project this edge, and I can check that though I haven't got a long overhang onto the fretboard. I can check it here on my first mark. So I've got the projected edges of the fretboard line, so let's see if I'm in the middle. It shouldn't be too far out. Oh, well, that is absolutely perfect, and I'm not really surprised. I mean, that's not a miracle, but I mean, that is absolutely spot on. So where I marked this centre line from my body template onto here, and when I drew the, I mean, it looks a bit rudimentary, this template, but I obviously, you know, drew the neck pocket carefully so it was nice and square, or these cheeks were nicely in line with that centre line. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm really happy where the neck is. You know, it's lining up with the centre line we want and everything. So I'm going to fit the neck now, and with the neck fitted I can position the bridge, I can then position the pickups. I mean, going back to what I said when I built the second one of these resin guitars, is of course if I realised I was going to build 3 of them or maybe 4, I'd have made far more comprehensive templates with the pickups laid out and all that, but I never knew. I just wanted a quick and rough build, and so I didn't do that. In retrospect, it would have been a lot quicker to have done that and made the proper templates. And the advantage of making a really good template is you actually prototype everything. You know, you're basically making a, you know, you're turning a plan into a prototype with these, you know, thin bits of wood and whatnot, and you can lay everything out on that and get it right and think, yeah, that's right. Oh, I'll move that pickup forward a bit. You can change the template, bang it on a piece of wood, whiz round it with a round, and everything's where you want it. But of course, me being a bit like short-sighted, let's say, but then I was only ever intending to build one, and I thought that was going to end up in a waste paper bin somewhere. But yeah, so anyway, I'm happy now. I can get the neck bolted on because it's where I want it. It's in line with everything. So what I'm going to do is whack a G-clamp around this neck, in the neck pocket, and then drill from the back and spot the 3 neck bolts, neck screws in there. So I'll get that done and get back to you. Okay, so we've got the neck clamped on. Now make sure everything is like you know, pushed square, and I've just got it lightly clamped on. It's pinched up, but I can get to the 3 holes in the back now, and have one more check just to make sure the neck lines up, and that's absolutely perfect. It's right on that mark there I put at the back, so that's great. Now what I do is just got a drill here with a fairly big drill that actually fits snugly in the holes that we drill through the body, but I'm just going to mark literally going to mark where the holes are, because I don't want to drill them with a hand drill, because you know, I could be wobbling it up and down sort of thing and whatnot, so you wouldn't get the hole perpendicular in the pilot hole for the screw perpendicular in the neck. So I want to do that on my pillar drill. So I mean, you don't want the screw going in and then being bent sideways. Your neck will be shifted a little bit. So here we go. So we've got the three screw holes just marked, and what I'm not going to use the screws, I don't think, that will hold the neck in. So I'm just going to drill a pilot hole for the screws, and probably use smaller ones for now until I can sort out, because this body is obviously quite thin compared to a Strat or a Telly. It's about 10mm thinner, I think. So if I used full length neck screws, I'd be busting through the top of the fretboard. So I've got to get some shorter screws, and equally I haven't got a protruding neck plate. I've got an inlaid neck plate, so that takes a couple of mil at least away. So let's get these now, pilot holes drilled on the pillar drill, and then we can screw the neck in place with some temporary screws. Right, okay, I've done that, and I've actually screwed the neck in temporarily. I used some brass screws that I had, and these are definitely not going to stay. I mean, they're in there solid, but they're not going to be used. Brass is not very strong, and in addition, I'd like a bit more of a chunky screw in there, but they you know, it's on there absolutely solid. And what I do as well with any screw that I'm putting in maple is such a hard wood. Make sure you drill a good sized pilot hole. You know, don't just drill a small one. You know, drill it to the kind of shaft size of the screw sort of thing, you know, underneath the thread. You'll get a lot better a thread on it then. And also put some grease or some soap or something slippery on the screw before you screw it in. And if you're using brass into any hardwood, definitely do that, otherwise you'll snap the screw off. So anyway, that's the neck in solid now. So we've actually got the complete guitar kind of thing. I mean, I know it looks a bit comic-y sort of thing, but that's exactly what it's meant to look like. So I think that looks quite cool. Anyway, what I'll do now is that we've got the neck in, check the centre line again, make sure it went on. It's perfect, absolutely perfect. So that's absolutely fine, no problem at all there. Yep, lines up with these here as well, so that's great. So now we can actually, you know, we can actually mark the centre line of the bridge. So we want the fender scale length on here, 12th fret up to 12. So if I had my pencil, which I know fell in here, so you go from the 12th fret on the center line, you just double the distance to the 12th fret, mark on there. We can mark, what I'll do is I'll put a thing down here. So now I can actually mark a straight line down here. That'll do for now. And I can mark exactly where the bridge is going, so I know where I can put my tailpiece and all that kind of thing. So we can get on with starting planning things out now, where pickups are going and all that. So I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up. I've got too many screws on this top and I don't want to dent. Put the guitar down on one. So let's get some things out the way and I'll get back to you. Alright, hello, we're back again. Move this over here a bit so you can see a bit more of it. What I'm doing now we've got the neck bolted on exactly on the line it's going to be and where it's going to be, you can actually start setting out exactly where the bridge is going to be. Now we've covered this before, just basically twice the distance to the 12th fret. So I've marked a centre line on the guitar there. I've put a perpendicular line where the bridge is going to go, and what I've done is I've got an ABR or a Tunematic here. It's actually a Gibson one from the 70s. So what you want to do is where you've got the string slots on the saddles, you want to line those up on the string line basically. So do the top E and the bottom E, and then mess about with where the bridge is going till you get a nice string gap on the to the edge of the fretboard. I kind of favour having a slightly more of a gap on the thin E from the string to the edge of the fretboard, to save people pulling it off the fretboard when they're playing. But that you're talking absolute fractions here, really. I mean, the ABR or Tunematic bridge is not really designed for a Strat neck anyway. So when I buy a new one, I mean, if you buy a Gotto one or something like that, decent quality one, it doesn't come with string the string slots actually cut in the saddles, so you can cut them slightly off centre when you've got the strings exactly where you want them. So anyway, here I've got the bridge exactly where I want it now. So what's going to happen is, on this, exactly like the money guitar, I'm going to be drilling through the heads of these comets on this tailpiece and putting the post in. And with a Gotto bridge, they're 4mm diameter, so the posts are going to be as near as damn it in the middle of those comets there, sort of thing. But you want the bridge tipped back a little bit, fractionally, to get to get the intonation the best. I mean, I think on a Les Paul, the bridge is actually if you put the high E at the 12th fret and put that saddle about in the middle and tip it back a little bit for the low E by, I think it's about 3 or 4 mil, but I don't even know if that is necessary, to be honest, because you can put these saddles on. I mean, all these saddles are facing forwards. Well, if you put that one on backwards, you're adding you're adding another 3 or 4mm in length there anyway, and you can put the high E one forwards, and that's how it's typically set up. I don't know why these are all going forwards, but whether that's necessary or... Right, here you go. I've got the tailpiece screwed on now. Basically, going through this resin have to be quite careful, so drilled proper pilot holes and drilled it out for the shank of the screw to go through the resin, and them 4 screws have gone in absolutely perfectly, and I've got no worries about them pulling out with a string tension or anything. They're in there absolutely solid. So what I can do now is mark the position of the 6 string pockets, so I'll have to drill the resin out underneath those so the string can actually go in and then pull along, sort of thing, into the keyhole. So that's all pretty darn good now. It's gone in very well, so I'm not bothered about that. So that's that done. The other thing, I'm going to put humbuckers in this, and I don't know what this humbucker is. It's just an old one I've got. But I have my slight problems with humbuckers because I don't like surrounds very much. And you know, on the penny guitar, on the money guitar, I actually like cut down pennies and put them on the sides, sort of thing, just for something different. And I don't really want to use surrounds on this. And what I was thinking of doing was I was thinking, oh, I'll make some like spaceship shapes or something for the edge of the pickups, you know, to take the height adjustment screws. And then I kind of thought, to make 4 of those and make them look nice rather than like some kind of cheap Christmas cracker toy sort of thing, they'd have to be like really nice. It might be a route I go down, but you know, bearing in mind how long it took to make this tailpiece, it took me sort of 2 days of faffing around, so I'm kind of a bit against that. And then I had this bit of a brainwave, like you've got the feet of the humbucker, and I thought, well, I love P90s because they go in the hole the size of the pickup and everything is contained within that. The adjustment screws go between the pole pieces. But I was thinking with a humbucker, what I could actually do is like these feet, I could bend them the other way inwards, so then I could put a hole in the top of the guitar same size as the pickup, like a P90, and then put the adjusting screws in through the back of the guitar. So I just have 4 little screws on the back of the guitar that you can adjust the pickup up and down with. I mean, you wouldn't have the as much freedom of movement as you would with pickup screws on the front, because obviously, you know, you can wind, you know, the pickup right up or right down to the length of the screw, really, no problem. But if you had them on the back, obviously you'd only have that much height adjustment, because once you'd screwed the pickup sort of down the screw and then bang, it would hit there. But I mean, you've got like, that must be half an inch of movement there. So providing you have, you know, the screw just say like that deep down from the back of the body, you'd still have at least quarter inch of movement like each way, which I think would be plenty. And then the only thing that could cause you problems if you had screws too long or something, or too short and they'd slip off. But I think I might well do that. I'll get the pickups. I've bought some Iron Gear Blues engines, and I'll try bending the feet the other way. Hopefully they won't snap, and then drilling in from the back. So I think that would actually be quite nice. So I won't have any pickup surrounds on the guitar. Just the humbucker coming through, and I think that will be quite unusual. So it could be quite nice. So that's something I might do. The jury's still a bit out, so we've got the bridge nice and central there. Let's just check the 12th fret. There's fender there. So that bridge is going to be about there. 12th, well, I'll be back a little bit. 12th fret, right in the middle. So that'll be nice. 12th fret there. That's fine. If anything, the tailpiece is slightly forward for some reason, but I'm not really worried about that. There's plenty of room to go there, so that's good. Got that done, and yep, be back soon. These Tone Pro bridges for must be about 10 years lying around doing nothing, and I've never really wanted to use them because, you know, they're not vintage, as it were. They're their own design. They're a good design, and one thing I was just noticing is that they are quite a bit wider than the traditional ABR, you know, whatever bridges these are, forgotten now, ABRs, pneumatic bridge. So they're wider, so they've actually got more adjustment back and front. I mean, on there they've got, well, they've basically at least got 10 millimeters adjustment back and front. So I could actually use this bridge and put it on square, which would be quite nice because it's got the adjustment that would allow plenty of back and front. Looks fine on there, no problems. But what I was thinking is, because it's got these massive posts that go in, you know, that the posts are much more robust than the studding that's used for the, you know, the ABR Gibson bridge kind of thing. But what I was looking at, I thought, oh, you know, you'd see this post and yeah, it wouldn't look very nice, but you wouldn't actually see it at all. I'd basically have to drill a hole in the middle of the comets there, kind of thing, and then bury this post in there. The only thing is, it has a lip on it, and I wouldn't want that to sit above that 3mm aluminium, so I'd have to drill like a countersink to bury that. Two things I can do is I can either file that shoulder off the post and then drive it in till it's below the level of this tailpiece, or I could drill a countersink in there and push that down through. It wouldn't really matter which one I chose to do. I'm quite glad I dug this out of the old drawer in the end, because I think it will, you know, it's going to save me about sort of 50 quid for a Gotto bridge. It's just as good, it's just as nicely made, and realising now you won't see any of the, you know, the workings of it with the post or anything like that. So I think that's going to all be good. So tomorrow what I'm going to do is mount the bridge, and then we can definitely line up, we'll have the perfect string lines then, and we can line up the pickups and do the pickup. I mean, this is going to be good. I'm pleased with that. I'm glad I dragged that out to check accuracies then, so I can do, you know, and the nice thing as well with this Gotto bridge, you don't have all the fuss with the, you know, the saddles falling out and everything like that. So yeah, all good, groovy. So let's call it a day there. Thank you very much for watching.